Hello gamers, today I'll be making a guide that, I've delayed a little bit, but it is finally here. So this is a scouting guide for a couple of different things. I'll be talking about scouting patterns, I'll be talking about sheep collecting, how many scouts you make at the start, and most important, when you scout your opponent, what are you scouting for? So let's start with the amount of scouts. The only two civs I don't go for the second scout most of the time, unless I'm getting attacked with some kind of scout pressure, are Chinese and HRE. The reason for that is with Chinese you go for the Imperial Officer, and with HRE you go with Prelate. So then if you get a scout as well, I feel like you're maybe putting your worker count a little bit far behind. But most of the time, pretty much always, I like to go for the second scout with all the other civs, no matter what the map is. Because not only you will be getting extra vision, you will be getting extra sheep, which is extra food. And even if you play civs that don't require you sheep at the start of the game, for example Delia or Abbasid, that you can go on berries, the most important thing about the second scout is you taking the sheep from your opponent. So every sheep you take, you should look at it like minus 250 food from your opponent that you potentially stole. And obviously if you get more sheep than your opponent, then you're ahead on food, so he will need to transition to farms earlier, or he might need to go out on the map earlier, which is extremely important. Another reason why scouts are good, if you play any civ that use professional scouts, you'll have 2 scouts already, so maybe you can even skip stables, because the current meta, you don't go for 7 scouts anymore. If you go professional scouts, you usually use 2-3 scouts and just kind of ferry the deer super slowly. Now, regarding the scouting pattern itself, let me change this before I forget. So scouting patterns are very map dependent, and there are certain patterns in which the sheep spawn. So I'm going to quickly run down to the super specific maps and try to help you guys out with that. And I would suggest next time you watch a high level player stream, kind of look where they're setting scouts on which map, and you'll kind of notice the pattern that I'm going to talk about right now. So, Highview and Lipany, definitely avoid stealth forests. Sheep can spawn next to it, but not in it. Another thing is, sometimes they kind of spawn a little bit into the stealth forest, but the issue with stealth forests is the moment you see an open space, go there. Because stealth forests will block your vision from the scouts, which you probably know. So when you go into the open area, you'll have higher vision and you can spot the sheep a lot easier. So you kind of want to stick to open areas once you find them, and then once you scouted all the open space, then you're going to stealth forest and try to find more sheep. So in general, avoid stealth forest no matter what the map is, because it kind of blocks your vision. Mountain pass, you always want to go straight towards the middle. Something a lot of people don't know, there are 3 to 6 sheep on the middle of the passage in Mountain Pass. Sometimes it's a little bit into one player's area, so what you want to do is instantly go there, because those are, as you should look at them, as bonus sheep. So let's say each side has 10 sheep, the middle has 3 to 6 extra. So if you go there, you get those bonus sheep. Even if you stay on your side of the map, you're already ahead in food, which is very important. Ancient Spiders, the spawn is pretty random. The noob is pretty random, but I feel like on the left side, or this side of the map, there are way more sheep, but the noob is a hybrid map, so you don't focus on sheep too much. Black Forest, who cares? Mongolian Heights is very specific. So Mongolian Heights, I think, has twice the sheep as any other map. Don't know why this is the case, but it has a buttload of sheep. So the way you want to scout on Mongolian Heights, even if you're going for water, you want to go straight to the water and then along the river, and then into the corners. That's where most of the sheep are, along the river, into the corners. Sometimes my scout will have like 20 sheep latched onto it, and you'll be able to find insane amounts of food. Altai, the way you want to scout is around the inner side of the mountains. That's where most of the sheep spawn. Obviously there are sheep on the outside of the mountains, but the first thing you want to do is you send them along this side and another scout along this side, and kind of twist, like go around, and then go to the corners of the map downwards towards your base. Confluence, it's a random spawn, so all over the place. French Pass is another interesting one. There are no sheep spawn in the middle of the map. And the way you want to scout on French Pass is the moment you spawn, you want to send scout from, let's say here, all the way to your opponent, because this is that neutral spawn, kind of like I talked about in Mountain Pass. This is the neutral spawn and will have sheep. So that's kind of what you want to take away from your opponent as fast as you possibly can. Hillendale is pretty, I would say, random. It doesn't have any specific areas. I would probably say avoid the dead middle on this map, but other than that, you know, scout around your base, scout around the edges, you'll be able to find some sheep. And then King of the Hill is another map that has specific spawns. The dead center does not spawn sheep. The way you want to scout is if you spawn, let's say here, you want to scout along this side and then from the bottom along this side. That's where most of the sheep are. Sometimes you'll find sheep around this area, kind of like the edges, but not on the middle. And that's pretty much it. The other maps are either just random spawns or nothing specific about them. The game I'll be hosting today will be on Dry Arabia. And Dry Arabia has extremely random spawns. Sometimes you'll be able to find 6 sheep in a span of one screen. Sometimes you won't be able to find anything. So Dry Arabia is random. Your best pattern is as good as mine. You know, just send a scout and I hope you find some sheep. So with all that being said, let me host up Dry Arabia. This is the scouting, how many scouts you create. Like I said, 2, except for the Chinese and HRE. And I talked about the scouting patterns and which maps are super specific regarding that. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to enter the game. I will not be playing the game. This is an AI game, and I figured it's a lot easier to explain this to you guys if I host the gameplay against an AI, so I can focus on the actual scouting and talking, then show you a real game that, you know, might be influenced by some things. Maybe I was distracted, maybe I wasn't playing as well. So I figured this is the best way to show you. So I'm not going to be focusing on my economy too much. What I'm going to be doing is basically creating a second scout instantly, starting my food gathering, and after that, that won't be macroing much. I'm just going to focus on the scouting itself and explain what I'm scouting when I look at my opponent's base and what they're mining and what can that mean. All right. So here we go. I select the TC, start mining, and one mistake that people make is the moment the scout spawns, they go around their base. What you should be doing is just go instantly across the map. So my opponent is most likely here on the minimap. Just go across the map and rally the second scout where the other sheep are and just pick them up along the way. The reason you want to scout further into the map first is because you basically want to scout until the point you see opponent scout. So for example, if the opponent scout is here, then you instantly turn because you want to be ahead of their scout. There's no point trying to outrun their scout. It won't happen. So if their scout is here, you want to just stay ahead of their scout so that you kind of block off all the sheep that they're trying to collect. One mistake that people, like I said, do is... Oh, let me stop this for a second. I'm going to stop both scouts. One mistake, like I said, people do that I feel like is fairly common is they start scouting and they kind of go around their base. Meanwhile, their opponent just picks up all the sheep on the middle. And by the time they go in the middle, there are no sheep. So this is why you send the scouts towards the middle. The moment you see your opponent, you turn and you start collecting on your side. So again, if my scout is, let's say here, let's say this wolf is opponent scout. So let's say there are sheep right here. This is the opponent scout. So what I'm doing is I'm picking up the sheep. I'm not going to go towards him, right? Because he's running into me. I'm just going to turn and try to pick off all the sheep on this side because he just went to the middle and got nothing, right? I picked up the sheep in front of his nose. So now he has a choice to go back, follow me, which won't work because I'm already ahead, and he can't outrun my scout. Or he's going to go behind and pick off his sheep. But the important thing is I did what I wanted to do, which was pick off the sheep that were on the middle. And you should always look the sheep at on the middle like kind of like neutral, if that makes sense. The ones on the middle are neutral. The ones on his side are his. The ones on your side are yours. There's another scouting pattern that you guys can do. That kind of depends what you prefer and whichever one I guess you feel more comfortable. You can try both, see what you like. And that scouting pattern is next. So I'm going to show it right here. I'm just going to drop off these sheep. Alright, so the second scouting pattern goes along a line something like this. The first scout you send across the map and do what I just said, right? You try to, go in as far as you can, pick up the sheep and then turn when you see the scout. And then your second scout plays more defensive. This depends. I feel like both are fine. So what you would basically do with the second scout when it spawns, you wouldn't send it across the map. You would just pick up the sheep around your base, you know, maybe try to scout the corners and get the safe sheep. Now, this also depends how much APM you have. I feel like, oh, there's the enemy scout. I feel like if you have more APM, you would rather have both scouts active on the map. But if you have less APM, that's fine. You know, you can use the second scout, you can shift queue it around your base and try to take this safe sheep there. Because sometimes what the opponent will do is they will play very aggressive with one of their scouts and kind of go instantly behind your base to try to pick off those free sheep. So, you know, test both, see what you like. But like I said, if you have more APM, I would definitely suggest being active with both scouts around the map. If you want to play more safer, you can use the second one around your base. And another thing is, and this kind of depends which civ you play, certain civs gather faster. Like HRE, so you're gonna kind of need sheep faster, and that's something you should be careful, because if you're not, you're gonna run out of food. So with HRE, like I said, you don't usually make a second scout, but if you decide to do or use your first scout, remember to not send it too far away because you will run out of food. So what I meant earlier is, if I see this scout, right, this is opponent's scout, there's no point chasing it. You will never be in front of it. So the best thing you can do is instantly change direction and try to find somewhere else. Especially if you see opponent scout, maybe they won't see you, so you can kind of get ahead of them and try to edge an advantage. Or if I was here right now and the opponent scout was there, don't try to follow them, just try to cut them off all the way to the left and take this side that you know you did not explore and that you know they didn't explore. So that's something to think about. I know this is like super detailed, but when I do these kinds of guides, I like to explain to you guys everything that I know and everything that can be somehow used in your games. Now, let's talk about scouting your opponent. So once you've gathered all the sheep, once everything is, you know, all good, you got your food, what you want to do is, when the map is like this, I would say use one scout to scout the rest of the map, and then use the second scout to start scouting your opponent. So I'm going to talk about what each resource means, because this is something a lot of people, like I said, they kind of scout, but they don't really know what they're scouting. So we're going to discuss this, since this is AI, like this is, he just hit feudal, okay? Let's assume that the opponent is just hitting feudal, or he's about to hit feudal, his landmark is finishing. So, versus certain civs like English, French, Chinese, Abbasid specifically as well, I might be missing some, they might be mining stone at this point in the game. And if you see more than 2, 3, 4 workers mining stone, that means they will be going for second TC, because stone cannot be used for anything else at this point in the game. If they only have 1 or 2, they might be tower rushing and trying to upgrade towers to have more range, so that's something to be careful about. But if they're constantly rallying workers into stone and they're gathering, you know, 100, 200 stone, that means second TC. Another way to confirm this is they should be having a lot of workers on the wood, because in order to make a TC, you need wood and stone. Now, another important thing is, basically every resource will tell you a story. So for example, if you go around this area, what I want to see is my opponent mining stone? Is my opponent mining gold, and how much gold is he mining? Does he have a mill? How many workers does he have on lumber? These are the main things you're looking for. Another big tell is when you play against civs that like going for professional scouts, like French, Mongols is a bit different because they use, they don't have mill, they have ger, I don't know how it's pronounced. But against French, against HRE, against Rus, if you see stables, if you see multiple scouts coming out, and more specifically, if you see mill with French and HRE, at this point in the game when they're hitting feudal and they don't have any workers on mill on berries, that means they built the mill to upgrade professional scouts, and will most likely be going for extra deer. And obviously, if you see HRE going for super early stables, then you see a scout popping, you know, that is a big tell. Oh, that guy was sliding. That is a big tell that the opponent is going for professional scouts. Now, this is something that in lower leagues might not be the case, because I think professional scouts does take quite a bit of APM. But again, you know, I don't know what league you guys are. Maybe you're high league, maybe you're lower league. just giving you some intel. Obviously, if they have mill and they're just getting berries, then, you know, they're just getting berries. So, what I want to scout as well is, like I said earlier, gold. So, on this side, let's say you check and English player is getting 0 gold past his feudal. That means he will be making a lot of units. In order to, whenever you mine gold, you're looking at 2 things, right? You're looking at either creating units with gold, which there isn't many of in feudal. It's only French knights, men at arms with certain civs, which isn't really a thing. So if you see a French player getting gold, it's not the most you know, crazy thing. You shouldn't have like, oh my god, what is he doing? It's probably making knights. But if you see gold with a lot of gold mining with English, that means that they might be going for fast castle. And in general, having more than 5 workers on gold past feudal means that the opponent is trying to tech up. If English, like I said, or any other civ is not mining gold at all, that means they will most likely be producing units, assuming they are not getting stone. So then you should be preparing for aggression. If your opponent is only getting food and wood, there isn't anything else they can do with that, right? They have to be producing units. So at that point, if you see no gold, you want to start looking around and try to find barracks, try to find archer ranges, stables, and see what they're actually trying to do. So if I see a lot of... Okay, this AI is not very smart, didn't build a lumber mill. But if you see like 2 archer ranges and then like a blacksmith, they might be trying to do a ram push. They might be just trying to put archer pressure. And one mistake that I see very often people make is... I got this guy. I'm going to move it away so it stops whistling and stuff. So one mistake I see a lot of people make is they reach feudal and they build a barracks, an archer range, stables, without scouting what their opponent's doing. So what I actually saw some people do is they reach feudal and the opponent is going double archer ranges, but they already made barracks at home, and then they're making spearmen. And the guy pushes with archers and just kills them, right? So what you should be doing is, if you want to react to your opponent, if you are not the one all-inning, if you see double archer range, you go either double archer range, or you can go stables. You can even go double stables, right? And then you have horsemen versus archers, and you will be able to win. One thing to note is it's important to keep scouting. So it's very important to know, is my opponent transitioning from archers? Is he going to just mass archers? Is he going to stop archer production and go castle? Is he going to add barracks and add spearmen for my horsemen, right? Some players will see that you're making a horseman and add double barracks and then go spearmen. In that case, you see spearmen, you're like, okay, I'll make archers. So then it becomes this mini game of horsemen plus archers versus spearmen plus archers, where your goal is to kill their spearmen with your archers and kill their archers with your horsemen, because that's how counters in this game work. Now, this is why continuous scouting is very, very important, and trying to figure out what your opponent is doing. Because in feudal, if your opponent is constantly producing archers, sometimes I get asked, how do I know that he's not doing something else? Well, if the opponent is producing from 2 production buildings in feudal, they can't really be teching to castle as well, or getting double TC or whatever else, simply because you don't have enough resources for that. You're very limited with the amount of workers that you do have. So if you see that archers are constantly coming, just make an army, defeat them, and then, you know, transition to castle or more economy, whatever else you like. What I see a lot of people do, including myself sometimes, people see an attack coming and aggression coming, and they kind of just keep trying to castle and keep trying to tech up, and then they die. The best thing you can do is just defeat what they're doing, beat their first wave, and then you can transition after that. Another big scout in feudal is seeing if they have blacksmith or not. What does blacksmith mean? Committing super early to blacksmith can be very well be a ram push. That is probably what you're going to see most of the time, because getting blacksmith and getting just +1 for archers is kind of like a big commitment unless you're all in it, right? But then if you're all in it, you might as well get rams and go for it. So it kind of tells you how committed your opponent will be and what their kind of goal is in that game. Because sometimes, you know, you'll have people build a couple of horsemen and then transition into something else. So what I'm trying to say is not necessarily every time you see, you know, a production building that means they will all in you. Sometimes they're just playing defensive, sometimes they're making a couple of units to harass you, which is why scouting is extremely, extremely important. So let's say this game, this barracks was a barracks and double archery ranges, and that's what I scouted earlier. I saw units. So if I don't, you can see I put this scout here in between so you can see the units moving. But if I don't see anything coming, just, you know, double check. Be like, okay, is he mining stone? Oh, you can also click on the stone to see how much it's mined. Okay, no stone, no gold. You can go around, you can check other golds. And if you see no gold mining, no stone mining, then they're still mass producing units. So there are multiple ways in Age of Empires 4, or actually every strategy game, to scout your opponent. It's not necessarily seeing the army or seeing the castle or seeing the production buildings. You can also look at their units, and with experience you'll be able to tell, okay, he has, you know, 10 archers 8 minutes into the game, or 7 minutes into the game, he's committing to archers, right? But if you see absolutely nothing, you want to check the gold, because without gold they can't tech up, which means it's mass army producing. Same thing when you reach castle, by the way. If the opponent is rushing castle, again, I'm not going to talk what you should be doing, because this is not a build order guide or playstyle guide. This is specifically talking about scouting. If the opponent is rushing castle, he will have 5-6 villagers plus mining gold from start of feudal onwards. If you see that, how you want to respond, that is up to you. But going into the castle, what players will usually do is, as they're reaching a castle, they will start adding production buildings that they're intending to go for. So a lot of civs, for example, in the current meta will be going for knights. So if you see, you know, a lot of gold mining, and then you see a couple of stables coming up, and then you see a castle landmark coming, well, that means they're going to be going for knights. So that's something that you should be preparing for. If you're playing against a Rus player and you see triple archer range castle, that means horse archers. So it's very dependent on the civ. Some civs like Delhi, Abbasid, even Mongols will sometimes plop down a couple of barracks and then go for men-at-arms, because men-at-arms are very, very efficient at dealing with feudal units. So again, that is all up to scouting, and is extremely, extremely important to try and keep scouting your opponent. Make sure you know what they're doing. Make sure you're up with what they're doing, because a very easy way to lose in Age of Empires or any other RTS is to get caught off guard by their unit composition. You know, you've been making spears the whole time and they come out with a bunch of archers and you're like, well, I guess, you know, I guess I'll just lose. Another way to use these scouts very, very efficiently. For example, if you scouted that they're going for a push, you know, you can put one scout here. They won't see it, right? You'll see when the army is coming. And you can even use the second scout. Let's say this gold didn't exist. This is the only gold. You can use the second scout and you can put it like something like this, right? Because the opponent won't see your scout, but you can keep track if they're mining gold. So this is something I do often in my games. I'll put one scout AFK like this, and as I'm defending, you know, every once in a while I'll take a peek. Okay, still not mining gold. He's still, you know, going for it, so I'll just defend. And eventually, if I just see 7-8 workers mining gold, then I can be like, okay, he is mining gold, he has stopped the aggression. Then you can go for a counterattack, which is the kind of the power of scouting, and it just allows you to make better decisions. Now, that is it pretty much from the scouting guide. If you guys have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. I recorded this locally on my computer, so this was not on Twitch. Apparently this AI Easy is going for a trade all the way here. That is amazing. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, let me know. I will try to answer them as much as I can. Please let me know what kind of guide you would like to see next. One of the other guides that I had planned was unit compositions, army compositions in Age of Empires 4. That is something that people in my Twitch chat had requested quite a bit, to explain kind of like how the army compositions work, what people should be going for. If the opponent has this, what is the best way to counter it, and so on and so forth. And in that video, I would kind of talk about which army compositions are best for each civ and kind of what is your goal with each civ. But if you guys have any other ideas, please let me know. And I will try my best to create more guides for you guys and kind of explain why you do certain things, how you do them, and whatever else is needed. I'm trying to think if there's anything else, but I think that's pretty much it. I really hope this helped you. A lot of these things are very not natural to me, but I learned them and I don't really think about them anymore. So even guides for something super obvious, please suggest them, because you know, I don't think about like, oh, where should I put my scout, because I've learned where to do it on each map and I don't really think about it. So I might not even consider certain things, which is why I'm always open for suggestions. Or if you want to see a full Civ guide as well, that's something that I can do as well. Anyway, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's guide, today's video. If you want to watch me stream live, check me out on Twitch, twitch.tv/Beastyqt. That is it for me today. Once again, thank you for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow or day after with another video. Bye-bye.